Good evening, members and everybody, and welcome to this Policy and Resources Committee meeting. I'll just hand over to Christina, who will give us some housekeeping rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. Thank you to all of those of you attending the Policy and Resources Committee this evening, and to those who are watching this meeting live via our YouTube channel. To those who are present with us this evening, I would just like to run through some brief housekeeping rules with you. Please could we ask you to use the hand sanitizer when entering and exiting the room this evening, and you will find sanitizers located within the room should you require to use this during the meeting. We ask that face coverings are worn when moving around the room and are only removed when you are seated or standing to talk on an item. Please also remember to follow the social distancing guidelines in place. We are operating a one-way system in the room this evening, and you will see the signs on the doors to assist you. We are not expecting any test fire drills this evening. If you should hear a fire alarm, please make your way out of the room and down the stairs, where officers will assist you to the evacuation location, which is across the road outside the Star Hotel. Anybody requiring help in the event of an evacuation, please make yourself known to officers and the relevant assistance will be provided. Please could I ask that all mobile phones are either switched off or put onto silent mode. Members, I will remind you that should you wish to speak, please raise your hand and wait for myself or the chairman to acknowledge you, and your name will be added to those wishing to speak. When called to speak, you will be required to press the button on your microphone in front of you, which will turn red when active. Please can we ask that you speak both loudly and clearly into the microphone so that those watching live can hear you. When voting this evening, members, this will be undertaken by a show of hands. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks very much, Christina. Item 1 on the agenda then is apologies for absence.
I've received apologies from Councillor Williamson and Myers.
Thank you very much. Item 2, any declarations of interest? Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Chairman. Item 14, I'm a member of the Preservation Trust, and for sake of consistency with full council, I will excuse myself for the room for that process.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. I would like to declare an interest in item 10, Public Events Policy. I am a board member of the Town Centre bid. Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm also a director of the Town Centre Partnership.
Councillor Hammond.
I'm a director of the bid.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
I'm a director of the bid too.
Yeah, thank you. Any other declarations of interest? You two are directors, aren't you, of the GYTBA? TBA, yeah, so the tourism bid. Thank you. Okay then, so we move on to item 3, which is the forward plan, which is on page number 4 of your agenda. Any comments on the forward plan? Can we move on then and say that's all okay then? Moving on with that? Yep. Okay then, so we move on then to item number 5, which is the, item 4, the annual action plan. Nearly missed him out then. Where is he? Sorry, James. The report is attached. It's on pages 5 to 35 of your agenda, and I hand over to James Whedon to present. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman. I'd like to introduce the Council's annual action plan for 2021-22, which is written in support of the plan 2020-25. The annual action plan outlines all of the activities and key projects that will be taken forward during the year. Each activity and project has been assigned a lead officer who is responsible for ensuring they are completed during the year. The action plan also identifies key milestones and dates and links to the service committee that progress will be reported to. A list of performance indicators are included at Appendix 1. The majority of these have been carried over from 2020-21 last year. However, some new indicators have been added and targets revised for others. For ease of identification, the additions and revisions have been highlighted in yellow and a narrative included beneath each to explain the reason for the addition or revision. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Any questions from members? No, so the recommendation then is on page 5 of the agenda. Policy and Resources Committee is asked to consider the annual action plan for 2021-22 and the suite of performance indicators detailed in Appendix 1 see attached. All in favour? Anybody against? That's carried then. Thanks very much, James. Right, we then move on then to item 5, which is the Agile Working Policy, and that's on pages 36 to 49 of your agenda, and I'll hand over to Sarah Tate to present that. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. This report presents to you the new Agile Working Policy for the Council. The Council recognises the need to develop modern transformative working practices focusing on performance and outcomes to enable us to continue to deliver our services to the highest standards, have the ability to retain flexibility to meet business needs, to attract and retain staff, to be able to compete for the best talent and to be an employer of choice. The pandemic resulted in staff having to very quickly adapt to new ways of working, which enabled us to successfully deliver our services, support our communities and businesses, drive major projects forward and respond to the pandemic whilst working in an agile manner. Without the ability to work in this way, we would not have achieved everything that we have during the pandemic, and we wish to build on this, embracing a more agile way of working. The key principles of working in a more agile way include agile and flexible working based on business needs, a commitment to invest in technology, staff are supported, motivated, engaged and feel part of the organisation, to support and increase opportunities on recruitment and retention, productivity, outputs and performance are increased, improved resilience and ability to deliver our services flexibly, reduce the running cost of the council through making best use of our assets and reducing our environmental footprint. In developing this policy, the Council has looked at business needs, learning from other public sector organisations across the country who are also transforming the way they do business, supporting our local residents and businesses, the need to be flexible with our capacity. We have also taken into consideration staff surveys, feedback from our customer survey, input from extended management team, consulted with Unison, the staff engagement group, the joint consultative working group, and have run drop-in sessions to enable staff to ask questions and feedback their views. By working in a more agile way, we will develop a modern dynamic workforce that delivers our services from locations other than the traditional working environment of a desk in a council building. The overriding ethos to agile working is that work is what you do, not where you do it. To remain competitive in a difficult recruitment market, to be an employer of choice and to continue delivering the way we have since the pandemic began in 2020, the Council needs to embrace the new ways of working. This is a starting point of working in a more agile way and it will be under constant review. The policy and how we work will continue to evolve over time. The last 15 months has clearly evidenced how well the Council can continue to deliver in one of the most challenging times anyone has ever faced and shown its ability to adapt and evolve overnight. The rollout of the policy will be supported by an action plan which will consider the resources required to implement, along with linkages to the wider corporate strategies, including digital improvement strategy and the medium-term financial strategy. The policy will be subject to regular review in response to changing service delivery needs and with the ongoing development of new technologies. The Council will continue to seek feedback from staff, managers and its customers, reviewing how the new ways of working are impacting on service delivery and staff and adapt as we continue to learn. The recommendations are on page 36. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Obviously, a very good policy, and obviously everyone has had to learn to work differently over the last 16 months, and we continue to do so. So I think really important that that we do adapt to new ways of working, and certainly it has proved, as we all know, a real good way as well of keeping the council really going over the past and delivering, for, as it says in the report, for our communities over the last 16 months, because if not we would have certainly been in a few difficulties. But Councillor Wainwright, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, I do fully support the report. Can I just ask though that, I mean, it probably is part of this, but when an officer or a member of staff goes on leave, could they possibly, put something on the, on their bounce back to say that they're on leave and somebody else is dealing with it? I mean, I've got a particular case at the moment I'm dealing with. The person that I was given to contact while one of the officers was off, basically, she's off. So, it just needs to be tightened up a bit. So when members send emails to officers, that we do get a response, because sometimes members do want to quite criticise. I'm not criticising people, but just tighten up on, you know, to follow it through, really.
You can. I mean, obviously, you can put a thing on your emails to say, sorry, I'm on holiday, please contact you. But I'm sure, Sarah, that can be looked at, can't it? Yeah, okay. Okay, Councillor Wainwright. Councillor Carpenter.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Sarah, for the report. Obviously, I appreciate it's a working, living document and subject to change and alteration. But my only concern, as we did discuss this at the Joint Consultative Working Group, it's basically if we've got staff working from home and they don't feel that it's appropriate for them to work at home, bearing in mind the circumstances at home may not be the right place for them to be, obviously that would be flagged up by the individual themselves, and so we would be able to accommodate that here. And also it's just really the well-being of staff, because everything has changed for the staff, and you know, it's getting used to that new way of working, and obviously encouraging new staff into the organisation. That's going to be slightly different, is it not?
Sarah, do you want to answer that? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So staff, we will have ability for staff to work in the office. It won't be a blanket working from home. We have regular one-to-ones with staff who link in with managers. One of the first questions that asks is, how are you? We have said all the way during the pandemic, and will continue to do so, if for any reason you can't work from home, for example, technology, well-being reasons, then talk to your managers and we will ensure that we can facilitate that in the offices. The staff engagement group are doing huge amounts of work on well-being. We're doing lots of work with managers and all staff as well, and that will continue, and we ensure that everybody is fully supported, and absolutely it will continue to evolve over time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Wright.
Just very quick, following on from what Trevor just mentioned, I think one of the other issues is the fact that you can go online and you get a bounce back and it says will be returned back to office on the 13th of July, only to find that they're also on holiday again now. And I think it's about clearing the information when an officer or of the council is actually returned from work on that basis. But can I just say what I really wanted to say is the issue about contacting officers when they're working from home. I think that the actual report and obviously everything to do with that is to be welcomed in these circumstances and probably moving forward. So I do support that view. But I think one of the important issues is to make sure that they are contactable, that they have got mobile capability. I mean, on occasions, and it's not a complaint, I've not made a complaint or anything, but it's about trying to contact certain officers, and you find out the mobile phone hasn't got any Wi-Fi spots or anything, so you have to go through another officer to say, can you contact the officer to contact me again? So I think it's about getting that right, and I think as long as we get that assurance that they are contactable wherever they are, I think that's the most important thing, because it is a bit frustrating. But overall, I mean, I say that it's the correct policy to go forward on this, so I would support it. But obviously, over time, this will tweak and that will come through those issues as far as the those areas where perhaps the Wi-Fi isn't as good as it should be.
Yeah, well, even members, we have problems with Wi-Fi, we know, so it is difficult, I know, and and we get froze up whenever we're on meetings or things like that, but obviously now we're back to physical meetings, but I know all working groups and that will still be carrying on, as I said, through Wi-Fi, because it saves so much. This is a real good thing, because obviously it saves officer time, it saves our time as well, if we're attending a meeting, travelling as well, and so really good, but a really good report. So any other comments on this? No? So the recommendation members are on page 36. The Policy and Resources Committee agree the new Agile Working Policy. Are we all in favour? Anybody against? No, that's carried then. Thank you, and thank you, Sarah. So we move on then to item number 6, which is the Heritage Action Zone Shopfront Design Guide Supplementary Planning Document, and it's on pages 50 to 109, and David Gleeson is presenting this tonight. Over to you, David. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So the Great Yarmouth Heritage Action Zone was announced in January 2020 and includes the Marketplace, King Street and Market Row, as outlined in Figure 2 of the appended document. The HAS, as it's known, covers a series of initiatives which collectively tackle problems of empty, redundant and neglected buildings through repair and reuse, transforming dilapidated properties into new homes, shops and community spaces. Within the programme of works identified in the report, the first design guide to be prepared, which is appended to the report, is the Great Yarmouth Shopfront Design Guide, which is going to be a supplementary planning document and being given material weight in deciding planning applications. It provides broad design principles which should be considered for repairs, renovations and development. The draft SBD helpfully provides a number of good and bad case studies with an aim to drive and improve design standards. And quite obviously this is to preserve the historic character and enhance the appearance of heritage assets right in the heart of Great Yarmouth itself. So as per the recommendation, and following the Local Plan Working Party's approval yesterday, it's recommended that Policy and Resources Committee approve the first draft supplementary planning document for consultation with statutory consultees and other interested groups and the public over the summer, with a final draft of the SPD being prepared in the autumn and to be presented back to this committee. It's expected this supplementary planning document can be adopted as a material consideration for planning purposes before the end of this calendar year. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, David. I've got Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Chairman. A really good report and a good document as well. It's really interesting. I'm looking on page 66, and just below it is a photograph of the marketplace. And the paragraph above really describes a lot of what it is we're trying to change, and that says poor shopfront appearance, however, can lead to disintegration, detraction from the wider qualities of the area, erosion of the visual quality of the streetscape, and can deter shoppers. Poor design, low quality materials, bad workmanship, inappropriate colour schemes, intrusive lighting, excessive signage and advertising all do little to create positive first impressions and entice customers. Chairman, I look at that picture and I see not just a shop front, but everything above it is what the marketplace is. It's the different shapes of the houses, different shapes of the roofs, different shapes of windows and the colours. And then we get quite an in-depth history of shop fronts in the document. And as I scoot through, we get to page 73, and we have a shop front on King Street, which is the tropical. And all right, I think what's been highlighted is the decorative orange piece that sticks out. But if you look above it, the windows, the gable ends, and the other windows up there are all architecturally interesting. So I'm just wondering whether we're missing a trick in just dealing with the shop fronts, and that really the architecture goes above it as well, and we should be doing something about trying to improve, or not improve, but show it out a little bit more, put it a little bit more on show, because you get the same down Regent Road. The architecture on Regent Road, if you look up above the shops, is absolutely amazing, and I think it's a real treasure of the town that is kind of hidden behind the shop faces, and I just think it's something we need to look at even closer. But the document itself does give a good pointer and a good indication as to what it is Great Yarmouth could look like if the architectural elements of it was all pulled out for viewing. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Councillor Plant. Any other comments on the? Obviously, this is out for consultation. We'll be coming back in September. So as David said, the recommendation. I think actually read the recommendation out, and it is on page number. I'll get there. Page number 50. That Policy and Resources Committee approved the first draft Shopfront Design Guide Supplementary Planning Document, Appendix 1, for consultation. Are we all in favour? Thank you. That's carried. Thanks, David, for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
So we move on to... oh, that's right. Oh, okay. That's right. No, right, go on. Right, item number 7, local council tax support. Permission to consult on 2020 scheme. Over to you, Miranda. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this report is seeking members' approval to proceed with consultation on the 2022 Council Tax Support Scheme. As outlined in section 4 of the report, we are not recommending any changes from the existing scheme for this year. There is a legal requirement to do a formal consultation where we are considering changes to the scheme for the following year. Although we're not recommending any changes, it's still considered good practice to undertake a consultation period and allow for that time and consideration. Following the consultation period, if we agree today to proceed, a further report will be presented back to the committee later in the year with the final recommendations for the 2022 scheme. The recommendation at section 6 of the report is to proceed with consultation.
Thanks, Miranda. Any comments? No, so the recommendation is on page 110 for this report, and it's that grant permission to consult on retaining the current scheme for 2022 as set out in section 4.1 of the report. All in favour? Anybody against? No, everyone's in favour. Right, lovely, thank you very much. So we move on then to item number 8, which is the annual debt recovery report. Again, this is from Miranda, and it's on pages 112 to 123.
Thank you, Chair. So the annual debt recovery report covers the period for 2020-21 and is one of the performance management measures to provide members with the outturn figures for the prior year. The report includes a summary of debts written off in each debt area, showing the reasons for write-off and values, collection performance for council tax and non-domestic rates, and level of arrears outstanding. Section 1.3 of the report summarised the impact that the COVID pandemic has had on collection rates and reflects the organisation's decision to take a considered approach to recovery and enforcement action through a difficult year for residents and businesses. It should be noted that in terms of the Revenue Services team performance, they have focused resources and maximum efforts to administer the range of national business grants and discounts over the course of the year and into the current year, along with working very closely on the grants with the finance team and the business support team. Appendix 1 provides a factual summary of the Council's 3 main income streams and the level of debt associated with each. The committee is asked to note that whilst in-year collection rates have suffered along with arrears of debt, housing benefit debt continues to reduce. In addition to this, although it has been a difficult year for collection, we continue to pursue these debts and can confirm our collection rates for last year have already increased to 96% for council tax, with business rates expected to achieve 96% within the next couple of weeks. The members of the committee are asked to note the contents of the report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Miranda. Any? Yes, Councillor Wainwright. Do you want to turn your mic on, Trevor?
Just on page 118, Miranda, it says, although the overall debt for sundry debt has increased by 1,993,823, 1,749,989 of that was raised in February-March, yeah, with 3 individual invoices of 1.365396 accounting for that value. Does that mean there was just three invoices accounting for 1.4 million?
Yes, that's correct. You're reading that correctly. There were 3 invoices and they were all for GY North, so for some considerable amounts. So yes, the amount looks very big, but once you understand the reasons why...
No, that's fine. As I say, I just thought it was a sundry debt, but if it's North, that's understandable, yeah. Okay.
So, any other questions? No. So the recommendations, members, are on page 112 to approve the annual report giving details of the Council's write-offs in accordance with the Council's recovery guidelines and performance in relation to revenue collection. Are we all in favour of that? Yeah, thank you. Do you want to... Right, okay. Right, so we move on then to item number 9, which is notice of adjustment to sundry debtor write-off within revenue write-off report. And you're going to, this is a verbal report, isn't it, Miranda? Thank you.
That's correct, Chair. Thank you.
I'd like to give members of the committee an update following the Revenues Write-Off report, which was presented recently to the Policy and Resources Committee on the 23rd of March this year, where members approved the individual case for write-off contained within the schedules. Following the committee, there's been an update to the case of the football club, where the committee approved the write-off amounting of £11,810.62, which was statute barred. Following representations made by the club, we have reallocated payments made to more recent debt, which has previously been automatically applied to the oldest debt. This has resulted in an additional sum of £5,950, which is also statute barred under the Limitations Act 1980, as it's over 6 years old. The write-off of this sum is within officer delegation for decision. Members of the committee are asked to note the update as provided only because of the shortness of time between when the committee approved the original amount.
Members, are we all, all happy with that? Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, thanks for that update then, Miranda, and thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we move on then to, I'll just let Claire get in position because she's got to move from where she's sitting. That's all right, I see you all looking at something, that's okay. Right, anyway, so item number 10 is the public events policy. Claire to present. Thanks, Claire. Claire, you need to turn your mic on and get and have it quite close to you. If not, that won't. We can't hear you unless someone else has got their mic on. Not working. Maybe swap over where, or just swap the. Yeah, oh yeah, another one coming.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Public events bring people together to be entertained and create positive experience for those that attend. Events can have a positive impact in the areas in which they are held and can also benefit the community and economy overall. The majority of public events have been put on hold over the last 18 months for reasons of safety or whilst in COVID restrictions. However, there is a clear demand for them to return and an opportunity to ensure that the events programme is strategic and aligns to our objectives for the borough. The paper sets out the type of events that the Council will support or deliver and also the role the Council has to play in the wider events programme for the borough. The accompanying policy, which is in draft, brings together the strategic alignment of events programmes and identifies key event themes that the borough wishes to be renowned for. It is essential that key partners work together to deliver a seamless events programme over the next 3 years, which is aligned to these key themes, and that the strategic objectives laid out in the Culture, Heritage and Tourism Strategy. This strategic partnership will be invaluable, particularly in supporting our bid for City of Culture 2025. Recommendations include further development of the events policy in conjunction with said key partners.
Thank you. Councillor Flaxman-Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Just got a few comments, please. The first one is it would be really good if there was a mention of ward members within the policy being notified of any of the events taking place in their ward, as I'm sure they will be help and contribute towards the bid for the City of Culture. The second one in Appendix B, it would be good if along the events lists, I know the Council supports other partners and different groups, if we could list those events which they put on across the areas of the borough, such as Hopton, Bradwell, Hemsby, Caister and Winton, Etsker. And the last one, the last recommendation where you've mentioned about inviting the partners to P&R to present their proposals, how often do you think this would happen, please? Thank you.
Thank you. I would suggest that this would happen initially to present the 3-year strategic plan, and then we could make a decision as to how often we would like to hear from those key strategic partners and keep updated on events. Completely note your comments, Councillor Taylor, Flaxman-Taylor. Thank you, and we'll take those into consideration.
Thank you, Claire.
Any other comments, Councillor White?
Yeah, just very briefly, obviously going through the various events, and it's obviously a very changing circumstance with the COVID, and I do understand that, but I know that at least one individual, one company has complained that the changing rules regarding certainly live entertainment has not been communicated through to those individuals at the time, and I had taken this up with officers. So I think the most important thing is about this is not just communicate in the organisation, it's to communicate changes outside there when people were prevented from putting on live music and were told that they couldn't, only to find out that the council had actually put live music on and the policy had actually changed. So what I'm saying is just a comment on that, but clearly, you know, with the amount of the work that's gone into this, the actual event, obviously it's going to be a good time, and hopefully coming out of the COVID that we can see that, and certainly working with the individuals for a 3-year plan. I think that's going to be a difficult one for some of the organisations to develop a 3-year plan, but certainly having a meeting with us to look at the possibility of putting forward for the City of Culture 2025 is a good idea to get that. But I think it's about communication. So I think it's just putting a pointer down to say when the rules do change, can we make sure that everybody, you know, who's involved in this is aware of the circumstances.
I agree, Councillor White. Obviously, the problem we have is that actually that rules sometimes change. You know, we look at them one day and then the next day they've changed as well, especially at the start. I mean, and rules are changing, as we all know, all the while. But I'm sure that I'm sure that they'll take your comment, your thing. And I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about because I was copied into that as well, and what have you. But as I said, it really is important though that anyone who's holding events do run them through the ESAG team, whether they're on our land or on private land, because obviously public safety, especially with the COVID outbreak and with the numbers we have at the moment, is really, really important. And so I think that is a real thing. But I just want to thank Claire for this update and on this policy and whatever. Like we said, but especially with the bid, the culture, the City of Culture bid with East Suffolk, you know, 2025, really good to get this updated and moving forward. Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Chairman. Really good document, and it does cut across all the things that are happening in Great Yarmouth. I particularly want to bring to attention page 13, 2.1. It says, in support of the culture, heritage and tourism strategy, this policy will support the Council's vision, which is by 2030, we want the Borough of Great Yarmouth to be a place where culture and creativity are valued, where it enables well-being and economic prosperity, where visitors come all year round to enjoy our natural and built environment and engage with our rich and diverse culture. And then in 2.2, moreover of this journey, by 2025, Great Yarmouth will be renowned as one of the UK's most exciting destinations for experiencing fun and engaging events that span performance, culture, heritage and circus. Our diverse annual public events programme will connect communities, be accessible and will contribute to the well-being of our residents while celebrating our beautiful natural environment. I think that kind of sums up really what this is all about, what we're going to be doing over the next 5 to 10 years to try and make sure that everything that we do in the town is to help the communities and to help people who do come here to have a really good time as well. So it's a really good document.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Plant. Any other comments? No, members, so the recommendations are on page 124, and the committee resolves to formalise the partnership between Great Yarmouth Borough Council, the Town Centre Partnership and Great Yarmouth Tourism Business Improvement District. B, approve the events policy with a view to it being further developed with the above partners. C, note the forthcoming public events and festival programme for the next 12 months to July 2022 and work with the above partners to develop the events programme and invite partners to a future policy and resources committee to present their collective proposals for the events for the next 3 years with an aim to support the bid for the City of Culture of 2025. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Claire, for that. Okay. Shall we move on then to item, where are we? Right, item number 11, which is the COVID-19 Pathway to Recovery update, and this is going to be given by our Chief Executive, Sheila Oxtoby. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The Pathway to Recovery plan was approved by this committee virtually back in June last year. At that time, I think it's fair to say we were coming out of the first wave, and we had an expectation that we would be responding, adapting, innovating as we emerge from the COVID pandemic. 16 months on, and we're still having to flex and adapt our approach. So we have been back in response mode when we've seen waves of the epidemic, but we've continued to adapt and work with businesses and communities and continue to innovate. So we've really kept a focus on the immediacy of the need of our residents and communities, but at the same time kept a focus on the long-term innovation, regeneration plans that we set out in our corporate plan. The Pathway to Recovery was based around 3 key work streams: the economy, the community and organisational. And then we broke those down at section 1.5 around some key outcomes that we agreed at the time. At Appendix 1, we've given an update of progress against each of those outcomes. And I think you can see from the appendix that there's a huge amount of work that has happened over the last 16 months. And as I've said, we've had to flex our approach based on new information, working with public health. For example, test and trace wasn't something we were doing last June, but it's something we're absolutely heavily involved in now on the front line. Same with door knocking for the vaccination programme. So we've continued to adapt, to flex our approach, but we haven't lost sight of the longer term regeneration that we all want to see. So, Chairman, what we've done now in the early report that you agreed in terms of the annual action plan, we've tried to embed COVID as something that we will be living with for some time in those actions, but we will keep a focus on the pathway to recovery if we see further waves emerging and we have to respond appropriately. That there's 2 recommendations: to note and approve the updated plan, and secondly to delegate authority to myself to sign off the partnership agreement. This agreement sets out how we work essentially with public health and with colleagues across the county. We've been allocated just under 1.4 million through the Contain Outbreak Management Fund. The majority of that has come via the County Council, hence the need for the agreement, with a smaller amount being allocated to ourselves direct. The partnership agreement provides a framework for the collaborative working across Norfolk to manage and deliver services to control further outbreaks, and I do not see that will, sorry, let me put that the other way around. I believe that will continue for some time, that collaborative working and the structures that we've set up under the outbreak management plan. Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sheila. And obviously, with all the work that's gone on over the last week or so in Hemsby and the northern villages, as well in Galston and Bradwell, that all comes into that there. And really good working there with Norfolk County Council and obviously public health to get that delivery across everywhere. So, Councillor Wainwright.
It's only a question. Obviously, from August the 16th, obviously if people are pinged, they will then be given the opportunity to take a test every day for a period of time. But I only found out this morning that has got to be an observed test, that they won't be able to do that themselves at home. I would imagine that's going to be quite resource intensive, because, you know, a daily test for people that are pinged, they've got to go somewhere to, you know, have a test. Is that all in hand?
Yeah, that is on it, yeah.
Yes, we've got something called a local coordinating group, which is a group of leads from each district working with public health, and then we have our own locality group where we meet with the police and the CCG and public health. I think some of this guidance, Councillor Wainwright, we're still working that through in terms of what that actually means in practice, and the same with test and trace. So we know that testing is going to be an absolute priority as we continue into the autumn. I'm not absolutely clear in my own mind at the moment in terms of the test and trace and what the requirements will be, but we are, once we understand the requirements from the 16th of August, it's already been agreed that we need to undertake a complete review of the resources that we think we're going to need from now right through until next March. So the COVID marshals, which have all been funded through the Outbreak Management Fund, that only takes us up to, until the end of December. And as the leader of the council has just said, we've had to divert more resource into testing in recent days and weeks. And actually, we've had less resource for the vaccination programme. I can't see that reducing either, given our percentages. So we will probably need more resource, but we're working through the profile budgets as Karen's doing that probably as we speak, and we're likely to go back and ask for some further funding from that budget. But as we get more clarity on what the requirements will be, obviously we will send updates round to members and to staff.
And there is further funding through the conf budget, through the Engagement Board and the Health Protection Board, that there is some funding there that we are ready for what we always knew would be, you know, to carry us through right till March 2022. As the Chief Executive just said. So the Chief Executive did read the recommendations out. I'm sure you don't want me to do it again. So the recommendations are on page 154. Are we all in favour? Anybody against? No, that's carried then. Thank you. Any other business? Do you want to know? The Chief Executive just like to say something. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. It is with great sadness that I inform councillors that the Mayor of the Borough Council, Councillor Sue Haycon, has tendered her resignation as Mayor this evening. I have sent an email to all members and I'm just notifying the committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, just to add that once I've spoken to the monitoring officer, the leader of the council and group leaders, I will notify members of what the implications of this decision mean to the council, and I'll therefore update you further by email in the next few days.
Thank you. So then we move on to the exclusion of the public. There's no, obviously, our two friends at the back there. So we'll just wait until the live stream finishes when I get that signal from the